All right, Chapter 2, Section 2. Vocabulary words that we need to do. Conditional statements. We're going to start learning about conditional statements. You learned a little bit yesterday about how to prove something's wrong, right? You can prove it. So you can take a statement, you can prove it wrong. This is a conditional statement. In other words, how can I write the converse and inverse of a conditional statement? If it is cold, the geese will fly south. All right? If I flip that around, if the geese fly south, then it is cold. Notice how I took that statement and I flipped it around, right? I made it. The inverse is if it is not cold, then the geese will not fly south. Okay, so we took the statement, if it is cold, the geese will fly south. What is the inverse to it? Well, if it's not cold, then the geese will not fly south. That's an inverse. It's like taking 1. What's the inverse of 1? A negative 1, right? So if I'm going to be taking a negative of this, I'm going to put not into it. All right? Not's a very negative thing. Right? Knothead. Why are you looking at me?
Well, why are you referring to that?
It's a double negative, which means it's positive. All right. But if I do the converse of something, I'm flipping it around. I'm saying the geese will fly south if it is cold. All right? Or then it is cold. If the geese fly south, then it is cold. Notice how inverse, I'm using a negative in there. I'm kind of changing it around. I don't want your dead skin cells in here. All right, and the converse, I'm just taking the statement and reversing it around, okay? Oh, you guys are a piece of work today. Take a look at an exercise here. If the animal is a bird, then the animal has wings. How can I take the converse of that? Have wings. How can I take the converse of this? Hold on. Kaylee, how do I do the converse of this one? You have to pay attention in class. The converse means I'm going to take the last part of the statement and I'm going to put it first, and I'm going to take the first part of the statement and put it last. So how would I write that? If the animal is a bird, then the animal has wings. What's the converse? Casey? How would you write that? If the animal has wings. Yes. Then an animal is a bird. All right. Yes, it is.
Not a bat. It doesn't fly.
Neither is an ostrich.
Yeah, but an ostrich, you won't want a bat.
All right. So let's do the inverse. McKenna, what is the inverse of this one? If the animal is not a bird, then the animal does not have wings. Okay? Is there an animal that it's not a bird and has wings?
Yeah,
Platypus? Those aren't called. Oh my gosh. All right. Okay. We're just gonna move right on from that. It doesn't have wings. All right. Let's do some practice. Tyrese, converse. If a number is divisible by 2, then the number is even. Converse.
The number is even if the number is divisible by 2.
Yeah, the number is even if it's divisible by 2. What?
Identical, inappropriate name, but it doesn't.
Trevor, I want the inverse.
Inverse.
The inverse.
Inverse of what?
Think of knothead.
Of 1 or 2?
1.
Oh, I thought you were covering off 2 for some reason. Okay. If a number is not divisible by 2, then the number is not even.
There you go.
What does
Megan.
to do with anything? I don't understand it.
It's opposite. It's like a negative. Megan, if the sidewalks are wet, then it has been raining. I want the converse. Yep.
Good job, Megan. Right.
Process. I want the negative of it. The negative of number 2.
The inverse.
Yeah. Good job. Mr. Bant, I want the converse of the dog will bark if a stranger walks by the house.
If a stranger walks by the house, the dog will not bark.
The dog will bark. Will bark. Not is a negative. Damien, what is the inverse of it?
I don't know.
The inverse. Put knothead in it.
Oh, for 3?
Yeah.
Right.
No, 3. 3. The dog will bark if a stranger walks by the house. The inverse of that is? No. It's not. Does not walk by the house. That's kind of a inverse converse. No, because it didn't ask for that. All right, Kaylee. I want the converse. If a triangle has 3 congruent angles, then the triangle is equilateral. What's the converse? Equilateral? Has very good. Casey, what's the inverse?
She just said it.
No, she did the converse. Inverse knothead. Think inverse knothead.
If a triangle is not equilateral.
No, we have to do it like you're doing an inverse converse. We want to do just the inverse. So we leave this same like it is. We just put not in there.
If a triangle does not have 3 congruent angles in it, right? Then the triangle is not equilateral.
Awesome. McMurray. Right? Each sentence has conditional. A regular triangle has 5 congruent sides. If it's conditional, what would I write on that? If has exactly 5 congruent sides, it's a regular pentagon. The conditional statement on this would be, all right,
What's the conditional statement? Like, is it an inverse?
we didn't go over that, did we?
No, we did not.
See?
Teach us English this hour.
Math and English go together. This would be the only time I'll ever say that. All right, a conditional statement is a regular it says a statement is a regular pentagon has exactly 5 congruent angles. A conditional statement, if a regular pentagon has 5 congruent sides, then it is a regular pentagon. Okay? If, let me write it out here. If conditional means if then. If a, let's see, if exactly. If I no. If I have no. If there are exactly 5 congruent sides, then I have a regular pentagon. All right. Pentagon. This is just something a little bit different. We're going to do conditional means it's like an if then. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Okay, two complementary angles form a right triangle. Two complementary. What are complementary angles? What are complementary? What's that? What are two complementary angles, Damien? They add up to 90 degrees. All right. So what is the conditional statement on this? Let's start off with Trevor. What's the conditional statement for this one here? Two complementary angles form a right triangle.
If there are two complementary angles.
No.
If there are two right angles, they are complementary angles.
If you have a right triangle, or right, if you have a no, if two complementary angles form a right angle. All right? A right angle can be formed if I have a right angle, it can be formed by two complementary angles.
Then it can be formed Don't write that whole thing out.
If there Yep.
No.
Is a right angle. If there's a right angle, then it can be formed by two complementary angles. Did you guys get that? Did you get it? Yeah. Coolness. You don't understand these? We're going to be working on them. Just remember, tomorrow's roll the dice.
No. Which one?
You guys want to write that down or no? Do you? No? All right. Should I clear it?
Assessment what? 2-2? Can we do the even? Since we rolled an even today?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Imagine if he never grades one of our assignments.
Just imagine.
That will never ever happen.
Let's see. I got 2.2. What do we got on the back page of this? Converse, inverse. Let's see. Converse, isn't it? Contrapositive.
So identify the hypothesis and
All I want you to do, well, we'll take a look at the assignment. I'm not going to get into contrapositive. All right.
you know what that means, Mr. G?
Yeah, it's an inverse. It's the inverse converse.
Did you go to college for a math teacher? That's what I feel sometimes. I'm not being rude.
What's that?
I asked so what's the hypothesis for college, and Megan's like, no, you're just winging it.
All right. Conditional. Now here's contrapositive. It's kind of what they were calling the inverse. If weather is rainy, then the sidewalks are wet. Contrapositive. Just do inverse. All right. A conditional and it's contrapositive. This is the conditional statement. This is the contrapositive, or it's the inverse statement. Why they would change that up, I don't know. But if I take a look at this, what's the hypotenuse? What's the conditional?
Hypothesis and conclusion.
Or,
No way.
okay, so this is a conditional statement. If a number is multiple of 2, then the number is even. What's the hypotenuse? Hypotenuse would be this. If the number, hypothesis, the number is multiple of 2. The conclusion is then the number is even.
So what do? Underline it?
Yeah, I skip that.
Don't even worry about 1 through 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip that because see, you want to know why I don't like proofs?
Oh, is this what proofs are?
This is starting to be.
Why don't we just not do this?
No, we're gonna do it. All right. State whether each conditional is true or false. Write the converse for the conditional and state whether the converse is true or false. Okay? You guys can do that. So 5 and 6. Yeah, you can do it. We worked on, is this true if a recipe uses 3 teeth? Okay, then you got to be able to state it with this. State each conditional is true or false, then write the inverse of this. And I'm not going to even worry about the bottom. You know what you guys got to work on today? Those 4 problems. I don't remember.